My name is Madison Harper and I'm 35 years old. What would you do if you discovered your own sister had broken into your house, the one you legally inherited, and when confronted in front of witnesses, she laughed and dared you to call the cops? This isn't just about property rights. It's about the moment I finally learned that family blood doesn't give anyone permission to steal from you. And that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is enforce boundaries with the full weight of the law. Before I share how 3 months of security footage and proper documentation saved me from my family's betrayal, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy stories about standing up for yourself against entitled relatives. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Drop a comment below. It really helps me connect with all of you going through similar situations. Now let me tell you about the day I arrived at my inherited property with my property manager, only to find my sister had turned it into her personal playground. Growing up in the Harper household meant understanding one fundamental rule. Madison gives, Jessica takes. That's just how things worked. I was the responsible older sister who got straight A's, worked part-time jobs from 16, and never asked for anything extra. Jessica? She was the baby who needed more support and wasn't as naturally capable as me. At least that's what our parents always said. By 22, I'd moved out with my savings while Jessica, at 19, was still living at home, dropping out of her third college attempt. When she got pregnant at 23, our parents renovated their basement for her. When she had her second child, they bought her a car. When her marriage fell apart after baby number 3, they paid for her lawyer. Meanwhile, I was working 60-hour weeks as a software engineer, paying off student loans, and visiting Grandma Eleanor every Sunday, the only family member who never asked me to sacrifice more for Jessica. Grandma would make tea in her cozy 3-bedroom house in Riverside Heights, and we'd talk about everything except family drama. "You remind me of myself," she'd say, patting my hand. "Independent and reliable. That's rare these days." 6 months ago, Grandma passed away peacefully in her sleep. At the will reading, the room went silent when the lawyer announced she'd left her Riverside Heights property solely to me. Jessica's face turned 3 shades of red. "That's not fair," she'd exploded. "I have 3 kids. Madison doesn't even have a family." Mom immediately started with, "Madison, you need to consider your sister's situation." But the will was ironclad. Grandma had been specific. The house was mine alone. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The house in Riverside Heights wasn't just property. It was my financial lifeline. With $45,000 in student loans hanging over my head and San Francisco rent eating half my salary, Grandma's house represented freedom. The neighborhood was perfect for families. The schools were excellent, and similar properties rented for $10,500 monthly. I spent weeks after the funeral handling paperwork, transferring utilities and planning renovations. The house needed work, new appliances, fresh paint, updated fixtures, but nothing structural. I budgeted $8,000 for improvements, knowing I'd recoup it within 4 months of rental income. Dad called me 2 weeks after the will reading. "Your mother's upset," he started. "Jessica's struggling, Madison. 3 kids, no child support, living in our basement. You have your fancy tech job, can't you share?" "Dad, I need this rental income. I'm not rolling in money." "Family helps family," he interrupted. "Don't be selfish." I stopped mentioning the house after that. When Mom called asking about my plans for Grandma's place, I kept things vague. When Jessica texted demanding we talk about fair distribution, I didn't respond. I'd learned long ago that in the Harper family, discussion meant Madison caves. 3 months passed. I hired Derek Smith from Riverside Property Management, a consummate professional who came highly recommended. We scheduled a walkthrough for October 15th at 2 p.m. to assess the property and list it for rent. I specifically didn't tell my family about the appointment. No guilt trips, no manipulation, no last-minute emotional ambushes. Just a simple business transaction. The night before the walkthrough, I double-checked my documents: deed, insurance, tax records, everything neatly organized in my folder. Tomorrow would be straightforward. Meet Derek, tour the house, sign the management agreement, start renovations. At least, that was the plan. My financial situation was simple. $120,000 salary sounded impressive until you factored in San Francisco's cost of living. After taxes, rent, and minimum loan payments, I had maybe $500 monthly for everything else: food, transportation, emergencies. One car repair could wipe out 3 months of savings. The Riverside Heights rental would change everything. Even after Derek's 8% management fee and property taxes, I'd net around $2,000 monthly. That meant doubling my loan payments, building an emergency fund, maybe even taking a vacation for the first time in 5 years. Derek Smith had emailed me a comprehensive rental strategy. "The neighborhood's hot right now," he'd written. "Young families, good schools, low crime. With minor updates, we're looking at multiple qualified applicants within a week." I'd already contacted contractors for quotes. New kitchen appliances, $2,500. Interior painting, $3,000. Bathroom updates, $2,500. Every dollar spent would increase rental value and attract quality tenants. The best part? Complete autonomy. No family meetings where dad lectured about sharing blessings. No mom crying about Jessica's hardships. No Jessica posting passive-aggressive Facebook statuses about family who forgot where they came from. I'd even opened a separate business checking account for rental income, keeping everything clean and professional. The IRS would see a legitimate rental business. My family would see nothing. October 14th, the night before meeting Derek, I sat in my studio apartment reviewing everything one last time. Deed in my name alone. Check. Insurance policy updated. Check. Spare keys? Check. Security system app on my phone showing all cameras operational? Check. That last item would prove more important than I could have imagined. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "Confirming tomorrow 2 p.m. at Riverside Heights property. Looking forward to getting your rental started." "Confirmed. See you there," I replied, closing my laptop with satisfaction. Tomorrow would begin my financial independence. October 15th arrived crisp and clear. I left San Francisco at noon, giving myself plenty of time for the hour drive to Riverside Heights. Derek had texted that he'd arrive early to scope out the neighborhood's rental comparables. Pulling onto Maple Street at 1:50 p.m., I immediately noticed something wrong. A silver Honda Odyssey sat in my driveway. Jessica's minivan, complete with her Blessed Mama bumper sticker and stick figure family decals. My stomach dropped. What was she doing here? Derek's BMW was parked at the curb. He stood on the sidewalk, iPad in hand, looking professionally confused. As I parked, more details jumped out. Toys scattered across the front lawn, a pink bicycle leaning against the porch, new curtains in the windows. Definitely not Grandma's lace ones I'd seen 3 months ago. "Madison?" Derek approached as I got out. I knocked, but the woman inside said she lives here. "She claims to be your sister?" My hands shook as I grabbed my document folder. "She doesn't live here. I own this property." Walking up the driveway, I noticed more changes. A doormat reading "Home Sweet Home," Halloween decorations, a mounted security camera I definitely hadn't installed. The front garden, which Grandma had meticulously maintained, was now littered with children's sand toys. Through the front window, I saw movement, multiple figures inside my house. The door had a new deadbolt I didn't recognize. "Should we call the police?" Derek asked quietly, maintaining his professional composure despite the bizarre situation. "Let me handle this first," I said, though my voice trembled. I rang the doorbell of my own house, Derek standing witness beside me. Footsteps approached. The lock turned. The door opened, and there stood Jessica, wearing pajamas at 2 p.m., holding her youngest on her hip, smiling like she'd been expecting me. "Oh, hey, Madison," Jessica said casually, as if finding her in my house was perfectly normal. "Kids, Aunt Madison's here." I stood frozen in the doorway, taking in the complete transformation of Grandma's house. The living room I could see behind Jessica was unrecognizable. Toys everywhere. Jessica's ratty sectional replacing Grandma's antique sofa, crayon drawings taped to walls I'd planned to repaint, and the smell of something burning in the kitchen. "What are you doing in my house?" My voice came out strangled. Jessica shifted the baby higher on her hip. "We live here now, have been for months." She said it matter-of-factly, like stating the weather. Derek cleared his throat beside me, his iPad recording everything. Two neighbors, Mrs. Chen from next door and Mr. Rodriguez from across the street, had stepped onto their porches, drawn by the commotion. "You live here?" I pushed past Jessica into the house, my professional folder clutched like a shield. The dining room had been converted into a playroom. The kitchen was a disaster. Dishes piled high, food splattered on Grandma's vintage backsplash, cabinet doors hanging open. "Mommy, who's that?" Jessica's middle child, maybe 6 years old, peered from behind the couch. "That's Aunt Madison, sweetie, the one who never visits." Jessica's voice dripped false sweetness. I spun to face her. "This is breaking and entering. This is my property." Jessica actually laughed, a genuine, amused laugh. "Breaking in? Mom and Dad gave me the keys. They said you wouldn't mind, since you never use it anyway." "They what?" Derek stepped inside, professionally documenting the scene with photos. More neighbors had gathered outside, their murmurs carrying through the open door. "You have your fancy apartment," Jessica continued, bouncing the baby. "We needed this place. What's the big deal?" The big deal? She'd stolen my house, and she was smiling about it. "Get out," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "Get out of my house right now." Jessica's smile widened. "Or what, you'll call Mommy and Daddy?" She walked past me to the couch, settling in like she owned the place. "Go ahead. They know we're here." "Jessica, this is illegal. Mom said family property is family property." She turned on the TV, my grandmother's TV, and started flipping channels. "Besides, possession is 9/10 of the law, right?" Derek stepped forward. "Ma'am, I'm Derek Smith from Riverside Property Management. Ms. Harper hired me to prepare this property for rental. You need to vacate immediately." Jessica looked him up and down dismissively. "This doesn't concern you." By now, 5 neighbors had gathered on the sidewalk. Mrs. Chen had her phone out, clearly recording. Mr. Rodriguez was shaking his head. The autumn air carried their whispers. "Isn't that Eleanor's granddaughter? Which one owns it? This is messy." "Jessica," I tried to stay calm. "You're trespassing. I have the deed. This house is legally mine alone. And I have 3 kids who need a roof." She gestured around the destroyed living room. "You want to throw your nephews out on the street? How's that gonna look?" Her oldest, maybe 8, appeared in the hallway. "Mom, are we in trouble?" "No, baby. Aunt Madison's just being dramatic." Jessica stood up, facing me with crossed arms. "Look, if you really have a problem with family helping family, then call the cops. I dare you." The neighbors gasped. Derek looked at me expectantly. Jessica's smirk said everything. She didn't think I'd do it. The Harper family didn't air dirty laundry. Madison always backed down. "Go ahead," she taunted. "Call them, if you have the guts." I pulled out my phone, hands trembling. But instead of 911, I dialed Dad first. He needed to know what his permission had caused. The phone rang twice before his gruff voice answered. "Madison? What's wrong?" "I'm at Grandma's house with my property manager. Jessica's living here. She says you gave permission?" A pause. "Well, she needed a place." "Dad, this is my house. Legally mine. You had no right." "It's family property, Madison. Don't be selfish." His tone turned lecturing. "Your sister has 3 kids in our basement. You have 2 homes now." "I have 1 home and 1 rental property that I need for income." Derek was documenting everything, typing notes rapidly. The neighbors remained clustered outside, their presence adding pressure. Jessica sat smugly on the couch, painting her nails like this was entertainment. Mom's voice suddenly came through. Dad had put me on speaker. Madison, honey, it's just temporary, until Jessica gets back on her feet. How long has she been there? Another pause. About 3 months? 3 months. They'd known for 3 months and said nothing. Every Sunday dinner, every phone call, they'd lied by omission. You knew I was planning to rent it. Plans change, Dad said firmly. Family comes first. Jessica needs this more than you need rental income. That's not your decision to make, Jessica called out from the couch, loud enough for the phone. Tell them how you're trying to evict us, Madison. Tell them you brought some stranger to kick out family. Mom gasped. Madison Harper, you didn't. I hired a property manager for my legal property. Don't you dare do anything rash, Dad warned. We'll discuss this at Sunday dinner. There's nothing to discuss. She's trespassing. She's family, Dad roared, then hung up. The silence was deafening. I turned to face Jessica, who was now standing, arms crossed triumphantly. The living room felt like an arena with Derek professional witness, the open door revealing our growing audience of neighbors. You need to leave. Now! My voice was steady despite my shaking hands. Make me. Jessica stepped closer, her voice carrying outside. Seriously, Madison, make me leave my home. It's not your home, it's mine. Prove it, she gestured dramatically. Oh wait, you can't, because Mom and Dad said I could live here, and you won't go against them. You never do. Mrs. Chen stepped closer to the doorway. Mr. Rodriguez was openly recording now. 2 more neighbors had joined the sidewalk gathering. Jessica's raised voice had turned this into street theater. Derek intervened professionally. Ms. Harper has legal ownership. I've seen the deed. You're trespassing. And you're not family, Jessica shot back. This is a family matter. Her youngest started crying from the noise. The middle child was peeking around the corner, looking scared. Even Jessica's oldest had stopped playing video games to watch. Jessica, please, I tried once more. This isn't fair. I need this income. Fair, she laughed bitterly. You got Grandma's house while I got nothing. You have your tech job while I'm a single mom. You want to talk about fair? That's not my fault. Mommy? The middle child whimpered. Jessica softened for a second, then hardened again. You know what? Call the cops. I dare you. She pulled out her phone, waving it. Call them right now. Tell them you want to throw out your sister and 3 kids. Let's see how that looks to everyone. The neighbors were whispering. Derek maintained his professional stance but looked concerned. Jessica's smirk said she'd won. She didn't know about the security cameras. You won't do it, Jessica continued, her voice loud enough for the entire street. You're too worried about what people think, too scared of Mom and Dad, too weak to stand up for yourself. The words hit like physical blows. Every family gathering where I'd stayed silent, every time I'd given in to keep the peace, every sacrifice I'd made, she was throwing it all in my face. Call them, she taunted, stepping closer. Call the cops on your own sister, on your nephews. Show everyone what kind of person you really are. Her oldest child had come into the room now, all 3 kids watching the showdown. Mrs. Chen was shaking her head disapprovingly, though at whom I couldn't tell. Mr. Rodriguez had been joined by his wife. At least 8 neighbors were now witnessing this humiliation. Derek spoke quietly. Madison, you're within your legal rights. I can testify to what I've witnessed. Stay out of this, Jessica snapped at him, then turned back to me. This is why Grandma really left you the house, you know. Not because you're responsible, because you're alone. She felt sorry for you. That was a lie. I knew it was a lie, but it still stung. No husband, no kids, just your pathetic job and empty apartment. She was on a roll now. And you want to take away the only home my babies have known in months? It's not their home, I finally shouted. It's mine. Then do something about it. Jessica spread her arms wide. Call the cops. Have us arrested. Show everyone the real Madison. My phone was in my hand. 3 digits. That's all it would take. Jessica's smirk widened. You won't. You never stand up to anyone. My finger hovered over the 9. Something in Jessica's absolute confidence triggered a memory. 3 months ago, right after inheriting the house, I'd installed a security system. Grandma had always been paranoid about break-ins, and I wanted to protect the property while it sat empty. 4 cameras, motion activated, cloud storage for 6 months. The app was still on my phone. Derek, I said quietly, though Jessica could clearly hear. I need to check something. I opened the security app, my fingers trembling slightly. Jessica watched with narrowed eyes. What are you doing? The app loaded. All 4 cameras were online. Wait, no. The front door camera showed disconnected, but the side door, back door, and garage cameras were all functional. 3 months of recorded footage sat in the cloud. Madison? Derek stepped closer. Professional interest peaked. I scrolled to the footage timeline. October 15th, today. October 1st, September 15th. August, July 15th. There. 3 months ago, almost to the day. My heart pounded as I clicked on July 16th, 2:47 a.m. The side door camera had captured everything in night vision clarity. A figure with a crowbar, the door being forced, multiple people carrying boxes inside. What is that? Jessica's voice had lost some of its confidence. I didn't answer, scrolling through more footage. July 17th, a moving truck in the driveway. July 18th, Jessica's minivan arriving with the kids. July 20th, someone who looked suspiciously like Dad carrying a television inside. Madison, Derek said, looking at the screen. Is this? Security footage, I confirmed, loud enough for everyone to hear. From my security system, showing the exact date and time my house was broken into. Jessica's face had gone pale. You had cameras? Still do. 3 months of evidence. I looked up at her. Want to keep daring me to call the cops? I held the phone so Derek could see clearly, making sure my actions were visible to the neighbors still watching from the doorway. The July 16th footage was damning, crystal clear despite being night vision. That's Jessica, Derek confirmed professionally, using what appears to be a crowbar on the side door. I swiped to the next video. And here's July 17th, 10 a.m. The screen showed my parents' SUV in the driveway, Dad and Mom clearly visible carrying boxes inside. Mom was even laughing in one frame, Dad directing where furniture should go. They knew, I said, my voice carrying outside. My parents knew this was breaking and entering. Jessica tried to grab my phone. That's not what it looks like. I pulled it away, continuing to scroll. July 20th, Jessica's kids playing in the yard. July 25th, furniture delivery. August 1st. I paused. This one was interesting. You having a party, with at least 15 people, in my house. The neighbors were murmuring louder now. Mrs. Chen had stepped fully into the doorway, no longer pretending not to watch. Mr. Rodriguez called out, "That's definitely illegal entry." And look, I continued, finding a particularly clear video from August 15th. Here's Jessica telling someone at the door, "Is that a delivery driver?" That she owns this place. That's fraud. Derek was documenting everything on his tablet. Madison, this is extensive evidence of criminal trespassing, breaking and entering, and potentially fraud. You need to file a police report immediately. Jessica's bravado had completely evaporated. Madison, wait. 3 months, I said, looking her in the eye. 3 months of evidence, every single day, every lie, every time you claimed this was your home. Her youngest started crying again. This time, Jessica didn't look smug at all. So, I said, pulling up the phone's dial pad. Still want me to call the cops? I dialed 911. The phone rang once before a dispatcher answered. 911, what's your emergency? I need to report a break-in and illegal occupancy at my property. My voice was steady, professional. I'm the homeowner, and I have video evidence of forced entry and 3 months of trespassing. Jessica lunged for my phone. Madison, don't! Derek stepped between us, his large frame blocking her. Ma'am, please don't interfere with an emergency call. What's the address? The dispatcher asked. 1847 Maple Street, Riverside Heights. I made eye contact with Jessica as I spoke. My sister broke into my inherited property 3 months ago and has been living here illegally. I have security footage of the break-in. Are you currently at the property? Is anyone in danger? I'm here with my property manager and the trespasser. She's refusing to leave. There are also 3 children present. Jessica's face crumbled. Madison, please, think about the kids. The neighbors were now fully invested. Mrs. Chen had her phone out, recording. 2 more families had joined the sidewalk audience. This was the most drama Maple Street had seen in years. We'll send officers immediately, the dispatcher said. Stay on the line. They're sending units, I announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. You're really doing this? Jessica's voice cracked. You're having your own sister arrested? You broke into my house. You've been stealing from me for 3 months. It's not stealing. Mom and Dad don't own this property. I do. Her oldest child started crying too. Mommy, are the police coming? Jessica grabbed her phone, frantically dialing. Mom? Mom! Madison called the cops. She's having us arrested. I could hear my mother's shriek through Jessica's phone from 5 feet away. The sirens were already approaching. Wow, can you believe the audacity? If you've ever dealt with entitled family members who think your property is theirs for the taking, drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you're finding value in this story about setting boundaries with toxic relatives, please hit that like button. It really helps others who need to hear this message find it. Now let's see what happens when the police arrive. 2 police cruisers pulled up within minutes. Officers Martinez and Thompson stepped out, their presence immediately shifting the atmosphere from family drama to legal matter. The gathered neighbors stepped back respectfully, but remained watching. Officer Martinez, a veteran cop with graying temples, approached me first. You called about a break-in? Yes, officer. I'm Madison Harper, the legal owner of this property. I showed him my ID. This is Derek Smith, my property manager. We came to prepare the house for rental and found my sister living here illegally. Jessica immediately rushed forward. Officer, this is a family matter. Our parents said we could stay here. Ma'am, please step back, Officer Thompson said firmly. We'll speak with everyone. But I'm her sister. This is just a misunderstanding. Officer Martinez looked between us. Who owns this property? I do, I said, pulling out my folder. I inherited it from my grandmother 6 months ago. Here's the deed, the will, and the probate documents. Derek added. I can confirm Ms. Harper hired me to manage this rental property. We had an appointment today. This is ridiculous, Jessica protested. We're family. You don't call cops on family. Ma'am, Officer Martinez said patiently. Family relation doesn't override property law. If Ms. Harper owns this house and didn't give you permission to live here, her parents gave permission, Jessica interrupted. Are her parents on the deed? No, but... Then they can't give permission. He turned to me. You mentioned video evidence? The neighbors pressed closer. Jessica's children were crying in the doorway. She looked frantically between the officers and me, her earlier smugness completely gone. Yes, I said, pulling up my phone. I have 3 months of security footage, starting with the break-in on July 16th. Officer Martinez's eyebrows rose. Break-in? She forced the door with a crowbar at 2:47 a.m. I handed my phone to Officer Martinez, the July 16th footage already queued up. Officer Thompson leaned in to watch as well. The night vision clarity left no room for interpretation. Jessica wielding a crowbar, the door frame splintering, her looking directly at the camera before realizing it was there. That's definitely forced entry, Officer Thompson muttered. There's more, I said, taking the phone back to swipe through. July 17th, my parents helping move furniture in. They knew about the break-in. July 20th, August 1st, September. 3 months of illegal occupancy. Derek presented his tablet. I've documented the current state of the property, officers. Significant unauthorized alterations and potential damage. Officer Martinez studied the documents I'd provided. Deed, will, probate papers. Ms. Harper, you're listed as the sole owner. No other names on the deed. That's correct. My parents said I could live here. Jessica's voice was desperate now. This is their mother's house. Was, Officer Martinez corrected. According to these documents, it became Ms. Harper's property 6 months ago. He looked at Jessica seriously. Did you have a lease agreement? Any written permission from Ms. Harper? No, but did Ms. Harper ever give you keys? My parents did. That's not what I asked. Did the legal owner give you permission or keys? Jessica fell silent. The neighbors were recording everything. Her kids had retreated inside, scared by the police presence. Ms. Harper, Officer Martinez said, this is clear criminal trespassing. The break-in alone is a felony. You have grounds to press charges. The street went silent. Even the October wind seemed to pause. Jessica stared at me, her face white, finally understanding the gravity of her situation. Derek added quietly, the estimated damage and lost rent over 3 months exceeds $10,000. Madison, Jessica whispered, you wouldn't. A familiar SUV screeched around the corner, taking the turn so fast it nearly clipped the curb. My parents had arrived. Dad barely put the car in park before jumping out, Mom right behind him. What the hell is going on? Dad boomed, his face red with fury. He zeroed in on me. Madison, you called the police on your sister? The crowd of neighbors had grown to at least 12 people. Everyone had their phones out. This was being broadcast across the neighborhood's social media in real time. Mr. Harper, Officer Martinez stepped forward. Please calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. This is a family matter. Mom was already crying. Madison, how could you? Your own sister, your nephews. She gestured dramatically at the house. You're traumatizing children. Ma'am, Officer Thompson interjected, your daughter broke into a property she doesn't own. That's a criminal matter, not a family one. Dad whirled on him. We gave her permission. This is my mother's house. Sir, according to these documents, this is Ms. Madison Harper's house, has been for 6 months. That's just paper, Dad shouted. This is family property. Derek stepped forward. Actually, sir, that paper is a legal deed. You have no authority to give anyone permission to enter Ms. Harper's property. Who the hell are you? The property manager Ms. Harper hired. I'm witnessing everything for potential civil proceedings. Mom grabbed my arm. Madison, stop this right now. You're embarrassing our entire family. I pulled away. Jessica broke into my house. You helped her. You're all on camera doing it. The neighbors gasped. Mrs. Chen called out, They all broke in? Madison! Dad's voice was thunderous. You do not air family business in public. You made it public when you helped Jessica break into my house. The street was electric with tension. 3 months of lies were unraveling in front of everyone. You want to see what family did? I held up my phone, loud enough for everyone to hear. Officer Martinez, may I show you the July 17th footage? The officer nodded. I turned the phone screen toward him, but angled it so the closest neighbors could see too. The video played. Broad daylight, my parents' SUV in the driveway, Dad carrying in Jessica's television, Mom with boxes of toys, both of them laughing. That's us helping our daughter move, Dad protested. Into a house you don't own, Officer Martinez observed. After a break-in you were aware of. I swiped to another video. August 3rd, here's Mom on my security camera, telling a delivery driver that Jessica lives here permanently. The audio was clear. Yes, this is my daughter's home now. Mom's face went white. I didn't mean... September 10th, I continued. finding another clip. Dad removing my security company's sign from the yard. The video showed him yanking the sign out and tossing it in Jessica's van. The neighbors were in uproar. "They planned this," someone called out. And here I found the most damning footage. September 15th, 11 p.m., all three of you on the porch. I turned the volume up so everyone could hear. Jessica's voice came through clearly. "Madison will never find out. She never visits anyway." Mom's response: "Even if she does, what's she going to do? Fight family?" Dad's laughter: "Madison doesn't have the spine for that." The street went dead silent. Even my parents stood frozen, their own words hanging in the air like an indictment. Officer Martinez looked at my parents. "You were aware this was illegal. You participated in and concealed a crime." Derek was documenting everything. The neighbors were recording. There was no denying it anymore. 3 months, I said quietly. You plotted against me for 3 months. I found the worst video. September 20th, my parents and Jessica sitting on my grandmother's porch, having coffee like they owned the place. "Play it," Officer Martinez said. The audio was crystal clear. Jessica: "I can't believe Grandma left everything to Madison. It's not fair." Mom: "Your grandmother always played favorites. Madison this, Madison that." Dad: "Well, Madison might have the paper, but possession is what matters. By the time she figures it out, you'll have established residency." Jessica: "What if she tries to evict us?" Dad's voice, confident and dismissive: "She won't. Madison's never stood up to us once in her life, too worried about keeping the peace." The recording continued. Mom: "Besides, if she tries anything, we'll make her look like the bad guy. Throwing out family, her own nephews, she'll cave." The neighbors were absolutely stunned. Mrs. Chen shook her head in disgust. Mr. Rodriguez said loudly, "That's conspiracy." "You planned this," I said, my voice breaking slightly. "You used my personality against me. You counted on me being too weak to fight back." Officer Thompson was taking notes. "This shows clear premeditation." Dad tried one more time. "This is family business." "No," Officer Martinez cut him off. "This is criminal conspiracy. You knowingly aided in breaking and entering, trespassing, and fraud." Mom started sobbing harder. "We just wanted to help Jessica. She needed a home." "Then you should have asked me," I snapped. "Or helped her get her own place, not steal mine." Jessica's kids were visible in the doorway, watching their grandparents get exposed. The oldest looked confused and scared. Derek spoke up. "Officers, given this evidence, Ms. Harper has grounds for both criminal charges and civil action against all three parties." The weight of that statement hung in the air. My family had gambled everything on my weakness. They'd lost. Officer Martinez turned to face Jessica formally. "Ma'am, based on the evidence presented, you're currently trespassing on private property. The breaking and entering from July 16th is a felony offense." "But my kids," Jessica started. "The presence of minors doesn't negate criminal activity," Officer Thompson stated. "Ms. Harper, as the legal property owner, has the right to have you removed immediately." The entire street held its breath. At least 15 neighbors were now witnessing this, phones recording everything. Officer Martinez continued, "You have 2 options. 1. Ms. Harper can press charges now. Breaking and entering, criminal trespass, fraud, and conspiracy. You'll be arrested immediately, and Child Protective Services will be called for the children." Jessica gasped, "No." Or 2, Ms. Harper can choose to give you 24 hours to vacate the premises voluntarily. If you're not gone by this time tomorrow, you'll be arrested. 24 hours? Dad exploded. "That's impossible." "Sir," Officer Martinez turned to him, "you're lucky you're not being arrested for conspiracy. I'd stay quiet if I were you." Mom clutched Dad's arm, pulling him back. Officer Martinez looked at me. "Ms. Harper, what would you like to do? Given the evidence, criminal prosecution would be successful." Every eye turned to me. Jessica was crying now, real tears, not manipulation. Her kids were scared. My parents looked defeated. The neighbors waited. Derek stood ready to support whatever I decided. "Please," Jessica whispered. "Madison, please. My babies." I thought about 3 months of lies, 3 months of stolen rent, 3 months of my family plotting against me, laughing about my weakness. 24 hours, I said firmly, but I want a police report filed documenting everything. Officer Martinez nodded. That's generous given the circumstances. Ma'am, he addressed Jessica, 24 hours from now, 3 p.m. tomorrow, not a minute later. Jessica dropped to her knees on the lawn, a performance worthy of an Oscar. "Madison, please, you don't understand. I have nowhere to go." Her kids ran out, surrounding her. The youngest clung to her neck while the older two looked terrified. It was manipulative theater, and everyone knew it, but it was still effective. "Where are we supposed to go?" she wailed. "We'll be homeless. Is that what you want?" "You can go back to Mom and Dad's basement," I said steadily. "Where you were before you broke into my house." "That's not fair. The kids need space. They need a real home," Mrs. Chen called out from the sidewalk. "Maybe you should have thought of that before breaking in." Jessica turned on the neighbor. "This doesn't concern you." "You made it our concern," Mr. Rodriguez added. "We've been wondering who you were for months. Now we know. A thief." "Madison," Jessica changed tactics, grabbing my hand. "Remember when we were kids? Remember how I always looked up to you? Please, just 1 month. 1 month to find a place." "You had 3 months to find a place. You chose to steal mine instead." "The rental market is impossible. Everything's too expensive," Derek interjected professionally. "There are currently 47 available rentals within your school district, ranging from $1,200 to $1,800 monthly." Jessica's face flushed. "I can't afford that." "But you thought I should afford losing $2,500 a month in rental income." Mom stepped forward. "Madison, surely you can give her a week." "No," my voice was firm. 24 hours is generous. I could have her arrested right now. Jessica's oldest child, trying to help his mom, said, "Aunt Madison, we already decorated our rooms." My heart clenched, but I held firm. In my house, without permission. Jessica saw her manipulation wasn't working. Her tears turned angry. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. "Jessica, I'm going to make this easier for you." I opened my Venmo app. "I'm sending you $500 for a U-Haul and moving supplies. That's more than generous." The neighbors murmured approvingly. Even Officer Martinez looked surprised at the gesture. "I don't want your money," Jessica spat, but her phone buzzed with the payment notification. "You already took 3 months of my rental income. That's $7,500 you stole from me, not counting the damage to the property." I kept my voice level, professional. "I'm not pressing charges. I'm not suing for damages. I'm giving you time to leave and money to do it. That's the end of my generosity." Dad stepped forward aggressively. "You think you're better than us now?" Officer Thompson moved between us. "Sir, step back." "Madison," Mom tried again. "Family forgives." "Family doesn't steal from family," I countered. "Family doesn't break into each other's homes. Family doesn't plot for months to take advantage of each other." Derek added, "Ms. Harper is being remarkably lenient. Most people would press charges." "I want the house keys," I said to Jessica. "All copies." "I don't have—" "The security footage from August 5th shows you making copies at the hardware store." I pulled up the video. 4 sets. Jessica's jaw dropped. The neighbors were impressed by my thoroughness. Officer Martinez held out his hand. "The keys, ma'am." Defeated, Jessica pulled keys from her pocket. Mom and Dad reluctantly added theirs. "If any of you enter this property again after tomorrow at 3 p.m., you'll be arrested for trespassing," Officer Martinez warned. "Ms. Harper, I suggest you change the locks immediately." "Already arranged," Derek confirmed. Locksmith will be here at 4 p.m. tomorrow. The boundaries were set. Finally. Dad's face turned purple with rage. You're dead to us, Madison. You hear me? Dead. The neighbors gasped. Several phones swung to capture his meltdown. Robert! Mom grabbed his arm, but he shook her off. No daughter of mine calls the cops on family. He pointed at me, his finger shaking. Your grandmother would be ashamed of you. Actually, I said calmly, Grandma left me this house specifically because she knew I was the only responsible one. She told me so. That's a lie. I pulled up another video on my phone, this one from my personal files. I recorded our last conversation, Dad. Want to hear what Grandma really thought? Grandma's voice, weak but clear. Madison, I'm leaving the house to you alone. Your sister. She's like your father. Takes and takes. You're the only one who visits without wanting something. Dad staggered back like he'd been slapped. Mom was sobbing. Madison, we're your parents. How can you humiliate us like this? You humiliated yourselves. You chose to help Jessica commit a crime. You chose to betray me. We were helping our daughter. I'm your daughter too. The words exploded out of me. But I've never mattered as much as Jessica, have I? Silence fell. Even the neighbors stopped murmuring. Derek stepped beside me supportively. Officer Martinez watched carefully, ready to intervene if needed. If you want to cut me off, that's your choice, I said quietly. But I'm done being the family doormat. I'm done sacrificing my future for Jessica's poor choices. Dad turned his back on me. You're not welcome in our home anymore. That's fine. You're not welcome in mine either. Mom looked between us, torn, then followed Dad to their car. This isn't over, Dad called back. Yes, I said firmly, it is. Setting boundaries with family is never easy, especially when parents take sides against you. Have you ever had to choose between keeping toxic peace and protecting your rights? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And if this resonates with you, please hit that subscribe button. It helps other people facing similar situations find this content. Now, let's see what happened in the 24 hours that followed. The next day, I arrived at 2:30 p.m. with Derek and a locksmith, giving Jessica a half-hour buffer. The house looked like a tornado had hit it. She'd left deliberately, furniture abandoned in random places, garbage everywhere, food rotting on counters, and what looked like intentional damage to the walls. Derek documented everything with photos. This is probably $5,000 in damages minimum. Jessica emerged from the bedroom, dragging a suitcase, her kids trailing behind with backpacks. No moving truck, just her minivan packed haphazardly. Where's the U-Haul? I asked. Couldn't afford it, she lied, though my Venmo showed she'd accepted the money. Jessica, you can't leave the furniture. Sue me, she snapped. Oh wait, you won't. Too nice, right? Officer Martinez arrived at 2:45, as promised. Just ensuring peaceful vacation of the premises. Jessica loaded the kids in the van. No apology, no acknowledgement, just spite. As she buckled the youngest in, I noticed something that made my stomach turn, a rental agreement sticking out of her purse. Derek, look at this. I zoomed in with my phone camera. He leaned in. Riverside Gardens Apartments, dated 3 months ago? Jessica saw us looking and quickly shoved the paper deeper into her purse. You've had an apartment this whole time? I couldn't hide my shock. She didn't answer, just slammed the van door. Then why? Because I could, she finally said through the window. Because Mom and Dad said the house should be mine. Because you didn't deserve it. The truth was worse than the theft. She hadn't needed my house. She just wanted to take it from me. Officer Martinez shook his head. Ma'am, you need to leave now. Jessica drove off without looking back, leaving me with a destroyed house and the truth. Within hours of Jessica leaving, my phone exploded with family drama. 23 relatives unfriended me on Facebook. 14 sent nasty messages calling me heartless, selfish, cruel. Aunt Patricia's was the worst. Your grandmother would spin in her grave knowing you threw family onto the street. I didn't respond to any of them. What was the point? They'd already chosen their narrative. But not everyone turned against me. My cousin Sarah called that evening. "Madison, I saw the videos online. Good for you." "You did?" "Everyone's seen them. The whole neighborhood posted them. And honestly, most people are on your side, even if they won't say it publicly." "Mom and Dad won't speak to me. They're embarrassed. The videos show them committing crimes. Half the family is pretending they didn't know, but we all knew Jessica was living there." The family Thanksgiving group chat removed me. The Christmas planning thread blocked me. My own parents changed their emergency contacts from me to Jessica. But strangers on the internet were surprisingly supportive. The neighborhood Facebook group post about the incident had over 500 comments, most praising me for standing up for myself. Mrs. Chen had written, "That young woman showed more backbone than most people would. Family doesn't mean doormat." Derek called with updates. "Madison, I've had 3 families ask about renting the house once it's ready. Word spread that you're a landlord who knows her rights. Silver lining, I guess. Also, I reviewed the security footage. You have enough evidence for a civil suit if you change your mind." "I won't. I just want to move forward." But moving forward meant accepting a hard truth. Standing up for myself had cost me my entire immediate family. The price of self-respect was higher than I'd imagined. Was it worth it? Looking at my grandmother's house, finally mine again, I knew the answer. Yes. 3 weeks and $5,300 later, the house was transformed. Derek had connected me with excellent contractors who worked quickly. New paint covered Jessica's children's crayon art. Professional cleaners eliminated every trace of the occupation, and the restored kitchen gleamed. The Murphy family loved the video walkthrough, Derek told me as we did final inspections. Both parents are teachers, 2 kids, excellent references. When can they move in? November 1st, if you're ready. I signed the lease agreement with relief. $20,500 monthly rent, 1-year term, security deposit already transferred. The Murphys seemed genuinely excited about the house, sending me a thank you card before even moving in. The security system had been upgraded, 6 cameras now, all streaming to the cloud, with alerts sent directly to my phone and Derek's. I'd learned my lesson about documentation. "You know," Derek said, reviewing the final numbers, "with this rental income, you'll recoup the repair costs in just over 2 months. After that, pure profit toward your loans. And no family drama. That's priceless." Move-in day arrived sunny and perfect. The Murphys pulled up with their U-Haul, the kids bouncing with excitement. Mrs. Murphy shook my hand warmly. "We heard about what happened," she said quietly. "Takes courage to stand up to family. We'll take excellent care of your grandmother's house." Watching them carry boxes inside, treating the property with respect, seeing their children carefully wipe their feet on the welcome mat, this was what I'd wanted. Responsible tenants, steady income, professional boundaries. My phone buzzed. Mom texting. "Heard you rented to strangers instead of helping family." I deleted it without responding and helped the Murphys carry in a bookshelf. My grandmother's house was finally serving its purpose, securing my future just as she'd intended. 6 months later, my financial transformation was complete. The steady rental income had let me triple my student loan payments. The $45,000 debt was down to $28,000. My emergency fund had grown from nothing to $8,000. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. The Murphys had been dream tenants, even adding landscaping improvements at their own expense. Derek managed everything seamlessly. I hadn't needed to visit the property once. My family situation remained frozen. No contact with my parents or Jessica. The extended family had split into camps. Team Madison, quietly supportive but afraid to speak up, and Team Family First, vocally critical on social media. Then, last week, a notification popped up. "Jessica Harper wants to connect on Instagram." I checked the profile. Different last name. She'd remarried, apparently. The request came from Jessica Martinez, 2024. Her message? Madison, I need to talk to you about Mom. I didn't respond. 2 days later, another attempt through LinkedIn. Then an email to my work address. All ignored. Sarah called with intel. Jessica's new husband doesn't know about the house incident. She told him you're estranged because you're difficult. Mom and Dad are still paying her bills. Of course they are. But here's the interesting part. Jessica's in therapy now. Court-ordered from a shoplifting incident. Shoplifting? Yeah, got caught taking groceries she could afford. The entitlement finally caught up with her. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sympathy, just peaceful detachment. My therapist had helped me process the guilt. You didn't destroy your family, she'd said. You revealed what was already broken. Looking at my loan balance dropping, my savings growing, my life stabilizing, all because I'd finally stood up for myself, I knew I'd made the right choice. Grandma would be proud. The biggest lesson I learned wasn't about property law or security cameras. It was about the cost of keeping toxic peace. For 35 years, I'd believed that being a good daughter meant endless sacrifice, that family harmony mattered more than fairness, that love meant accepting theft with a smile. I was wrong. Real love includes respect. Real family honors boundaries. Real support doesn't require you to light yourself on fire to keep others warm. My therapist introduced me to a concept: financial abuse within families. It's when relatives use emotional manipulation to steal resources, justifying it with blood is thicker than water. The full quote, she reminded me, is actually, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Meaning, chosen bonds can be stronger than family ties. The security footage taught me another lesson. Document everything. Not from paranoia, but from wisdom. Evidence protects you from gaslighting, from twisted narratives, from he said, she said battles you'll never win. I learned that no is a complete sentence, that guilt is not an emergency I need to fix, that someone's anger at my boundaries is not my responsibility to manage. Most importantly, I learned that losing family who only valued me as a resource wasn't really a loss. It was a revelation. The Murphys sent me photos of their first backyard barbecue at the house. Neighbors gathered, kids playing, everyone respecting the property. This was the energy Grandma's house deserved. My student loan balance hit $25,000 last week. At this rate, I'll be debt-free in 18 months instead of 15 years. That's the power of protecting your assets, of choosing your future over their comfort. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and them, is refuse to enable their worst impulses. Boundaries aren't walls. They're the gates that let the right people in. 8 months after the incident, an unexpected email arrived. Not from Jessica or Dad, but from Mom. The subject line: I was wrong. Her message was lengthy, raw, different from her usual guilt trips. Madison, I've been in therapy since January. I needed to understand why I failed you so badly. The therapist helped me see how Robert and I enabled Jessica's behavior while punishing you for being responsible. We taught her to take and you to give. That wasn't love. It was dysfunction. I saw the security footage again, hearing myself say you wouldn't fight back, laughing about deceiving you. I'm ashamed. You deserved a mother who protected you, not one who helped steal from you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just saying I'm sorry. Jessica is still making poor choices, still blaming everyone else. Your father refuses to see the truth. But I see it now. Grandma was right to leave you the house. You're the only one who earned it. I read it 3 times before responding. Mom, thank you for the apology. I'm glad you're getting help. I need you to understand, rebuilding trust will take time. I'm open to eventually having limited contact, but with clear boundaries. Dad needs to apologize independently. Jessica is not welcome in my life until she takes real accountability. These terms are non-negotiable. She responded immediately. I understand. I'll respect your boundaries. 2 weeks later, she sent a cashier's check for $20,500. 3 months of therapy had helped her calculate what they'd cost me in lost rent during Jessica's squatting. It wasn't about the money, it was about the acknowledgement. Sarah confirmed Mom was serious about therapy, even joining a support group for parents who'd enabled toxic children. Maybe some bridges can be rebuilt, but this time I'm the one holding the blueprints. Thank you for joining me on this journey of setting boundaries and reclaiming self-respect. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more content about navigating difficult family dynamics. What boundaries have you had to set with entitled relatives? Drop your story in the comments. I read everyone and often respond. Remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish when others have chosen to exploit you. It's necessary.